You know how frustrating it can be when your clients cannot understand or visualize your design concepts, right? Even though you've given swatches, drawings, mood boards, and you've used software like AutoCAD and SketchUp, and you've tried to make sure they understand what they are approving. Well, Duke Renders has the answer for that. They offer 100% accurate, do-it-for-you 3D renderings that present your designs in their entirety. This way, you can make sure that your client fully understands and visualizes your design before execution. This saves you headaches, this saves you time, this saves you money, it saves you that back and forth. Do you want to learn how you can start saving these headaches? Well, book a quick intro call to start getting your designs in beautiful photorealistic renderings. Go to dukerenders.com/LuAnn and you will get 30% off your first order. That's dukerenders.com/LuAnn. Do this now. Just book the call now and see what's going on over there because this offer is valid for just this week. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, we have another on-air strategy session that I think is going to hit home for many, especially if you are juggling growth, team leadership, and systems all at the same time. My guest is Rebecca Pearson. Now, don't let the word strategy session fool you. This is a woman with some serious business chops. Rebecca is the Creative Services Director at Waterfield Hill, a family-run investment company with not one, not two, but three successful businesses in the interior space under its umbrella. DBSJ, Den Joinery, and most recently Design I.D. Together with her parents, brother, and husband, yes, this is truly a family business, they've built an award-winning portfolio recognized by the Sunday Times as one of Britain's top fastest growing private companies. And let me tell you, they did not get there by accident. Now, why is someone this accomplished coming on for a strategy session? Well, here's the truth. No matter how successful we are, no matter how big the company or how many businesses we acquire, there's always more to learn. There are still transitions to navigate, processes to create, and systems to tighten up. Rebecca is right in the middle of integrating their latest acquisition, Design I.D. And like so many of us, she's feeling the pressure of needing to slow down in order to speed up. In this conversation, we're talking about the messy middle, the part where you know you need SOPs, you know the processes are what will give you freedom, but it still feels impossible to make time for them. Sound familiar? I'm sure it does, right? Well, we're getting into the nitty-gritty, and trust me, you're going to see yourself in Rebecca's story, whether you're running a solo firm or a family empire. And before we get into the conversation, I want to send a thank you to our show sponsor, Design Trade Service. Interior design is your passion. Let Design Trade Service take care of the rest. With their 24/7 online marketplace, get access to top-tier brands, dependable pricing, and seamless logistics support. Save hours chasing updates and managing shipments while they streamline your procurement process. DTS, crafted to make your life easier. Join now at no cost. Go to designtradeservice.com /LuAnn. That link will also be in the show notes. All right, let's get into this strategy session with Rebecca Pearson and learn exactly what she needs to make as a priority in her business. Hey, Rebecca, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business for this on-air coaching session.
Hi, LuAnn. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an exciting opportunity.
Well, this is interesting because I've not seen an intake form like this one before. And I think because it took me a hot minute to understand the business model,
Okay.
why don't you just explain the business model that you've got over there, and then we'll start to see if we can pick apart the question that you have for me, okay?
Absolutely. So my family and I, we run an investment business in the construction and interior sector, and we have 3 subsidiary businesses within our portfolio. One's a joinery manufacturing business, one's a design and build fit-out contractor, and the business I'd like to talk about today is our latest acquisition. It's an interior design business called Design I.D.
Okay. Now, just for I know that we're not really going to talk about the 2 other businesses, but just for edification, when I was all in and out the website, the joinery business almost seems like a master carpentry, like a cabinet building type of a business. Is that what joinery means? English to England,
Yeah,
English.
we make bespoke furniture. I'm in the workshop right now. We work mostly with the London offices and providing them with their reception desks and their bespoke lockers and coffee bars and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that was one thing that was pretty obvious across all 3 businesses and the websites that I was looking at, that it is all very high end what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. No. Your portfolio is showing that you're succeeding. I will say you
That's
that.
good that it's coming across.
Yes. Okay. So this is a new acquisition, as you said, in the last year or so of the interior design business, but it is interior design for boutique hospitality, commercial. Get us into your ideal client and project.
So yes, 75% of the business is delivering interior design for pubs and hospitality venues, such as restaurants, cocktail bars. We also do a lot with golf club houses as well. And they also work with retailers. So we do a lot of retail and shop design.
Okay. And this is what the business's mix was when you acquired the business.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And is it your desire? Now, you are now the managing partner of this division, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So is it your desire that this division maintains this mix of 75% pubs, restaurants, and so forth, and then the other 25% with country clubs and retail establishments? Or are you looking to switch that? Where are you at with that?
We're looking to work with the existing client base. The business has been around since 2005, and a lot of the work comes from repeat clients and frameworks. We're onboarding new private clients as well, but our specialism very much is in hospitality and retail, so that's something we're looking to continue. And then across the group, we do a lot of workspace design and manufacture and fit out as well. So workspace could be a new target market for us as well.
Okay. So with that kind of little understanding of the lay of the land, of the business model and so forth, and then actually, let me just do a little bit more setting the stage. What I understand is that you have a relatively good size staff over there. There's 3 or 4 senior designers, junior designers, admins.
Yep.
It's pretty built out. It's not like it's a 1 or 2 man shop over there.
No, the interior design business has a studio of about 8 people, and then across the group we have designers that specialize in the joinery manufacture design and the detailed design for shop fitting as well. So we have a multitude of designers across the group, but 8 to 10 specifically in the studio for the interior design business.
Okay, perfect. Now, understanding a little bit about the business model then, when I come to your question, you listed quite a few things, my friend, that I'm not sure we can cover in an hour, but it's your priorities include, it says, maintaining client trust and consistency, transitioning from the original founder to yourself and your family, setting up strong management, refining SOPs, reviewing service offering and pricing, defining our brand strategy and marketing plan, reposition as a full service creative studio, because the original founder founder's experience was quite technical, and
Yes.
therefore that's kind of out there.
Hmm.
And then your final sentence is, I'd love to discuss strategies to achieve these goals. So I'm going to have to say to you, pick one.
Pick one.
Like what brought you here? What is the thing that, you're thinking, you know what, let me call this lady across the pond and see what the heck she has to think.
I think for me, because while I studied architecture at university, and I've been in the world of interiors from contracting and consultancy side of things throughout my career, this is my first time fully involved in interior design business, and I don't know what I don't know. That's why I've got a fantastic management team around me, and I've been focusing on bringing that team to the table and making sure we're set up to provide that consistent level of service to our customers. What I'd like to do now is take it to the next step and look at simplification and making sure that every client gets a consistent service, and anything that is in the founder's mind, he just does it like clockwork, making sure that the team execute that and have that consistent level of service going forward. So probably focusing on maybe standard operating procedures is probably a priority for me at the moment.
Okay. So thinking about that, it is, how many months or years do you have left on the agreement where the original founder is going to be with you?
About 6 months, although it's
Oh,
open-ended because he's keen to continue on with us on a consultancy basis, but formally about 6 months.
Okay. So, but we've got, our back against the wall here.
Yes.
Okay. And to what level are any of the processes documented? Is there any documentation, whether it's digital or even old school paper, or is it really truly for the most part in his head and you've got to get it out still?
The majority is in his head, although I've been doing a bit of work on my own, having listened to the podcast and from other professionals as well. We've implemented the ClickUp system and started looking at our project management system. So we've got the inquiry to client onboarding nailed. We have started to document the design process, but bringing in a new management team, we've also got their way of doing things. So it's a collaborative effort, and that's probably the next step, is really nailing down that design process in collaboration with the founder and the new management team. But nothing was documented before our involvement with the business. It very much was second nature to them. They knew what they were doing.
Wow, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. A 20-year-old business without any documentation. Okay. All right. So knowing what you do know, what would you say is like one of the obstacles that you're facing now? I mean, the general obstacle is lack of documentation, but what is the boots on the ground, the thing that when we get off this interview, you're going to go back and sit down and go, yeah, dang it, right? Like where are you at? Like, what is troubling you particularly now? Is it that you understand a process has to be built, but you don't have agreement with others, or you understand a process has to be built, no one knows how to do it, you don't know how to do it, so we're all just looking at each other? Like, what's the obstacle?
I think it's everybody's very busy, and that's a fantastic position to be in. We're delivering client work, new management team coming in. Some members of the team have been there for a very long time, but new people trying to learn the business themselves and deliver good client work. And so for me, it's finding the time to sit down and it be a priority for everybody, and really maximize on this time we've got left to really spend time on it while still delivering client work. So I've got the team's support, but it's I'm not the designer, so I need their input into it as well. And I don't know what I don't know. And I've got a good perspective on it because I can look at it from a different angle, from a business perspective rather than just a design perspective. But I really need it to be a collaborative effort from everybody. So,
okay. All right. And then where does your expertise lie? In other words, are you the one, as the managing partner of this division, are you the owner of the budgets, of the payroll budget, of the marketing budget, of the, managing the revenue and watching operational expenses? Is that under your watch?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay. And are you good at that? Is that like, I got that part? That part's not a problem.
So, yeah. And
okay, good.
we're going through.
Because that's the hard part.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. No, I mean, look, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So if you really are like, no, no, I can sit down, I can look and see that my
Hmm.
operational expenses have to be under this amount, and I can't, blah blah blah, and you know how to pick it apart and look at your payroll module and look at the marketing budget and decide, based on this gross revenue, we should be spending this on marketing. You're
Hmm.
all fluent in that.
I'm all fluent in that, and what I'm probably coming up against is and that's why my question is so broad, I suppose, because it's every area of the business and how we want to take it forward. Is that I have ideas around the pricing strategy and the services that we should offer and how we can reposition to this creative design studio, because it's services we're already providing, but the market don't necessarily realize that we can do that because they've just become accustomed to thinking of us as a more technical firm than a creative firm. So it's I've got that down, but it's it feels like it's touching every element of the business in terms of
Mm,
this standard operating procedure seems to be that core element. If we can
yeah.
get that right, then that will
Okay.
everything will flow.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of times the new management team
Hmm.
coming in. Are
Yeah.
these individuals that, come from the other divisions that you've reassigned to this division the way you were assigned to this division? Or are these new bodies coming in from the outside that have been hired to be part of this management team?
So one's been a hire. However, she did spend 17 years with Design ID previously and then went
Oh,
to
so
another venture. So she was a strategic hire to come back and really help with that client consistency and trust and that continuation of knowledge. So while she's coming back in, she's new, but not necessarily when you look at it from her career perspective. There was what our other senior designer as well had been with the business for maybe a year before we purchased the business. So new to the management, but has only done about a year with the business. So
okay, okay, okay. So would you say that at the outset that you have buy-in from all stakeholders that need to buy in, that it is and should be a priority to document the SOPs? Or do you, and the thing is, listen, there's saying it, there's believing it, there's giving lip service to it, and there's also resistance.
mhm.
So do you have buy-in and just don't have, action? Or do you kind of miss buy-in too? Like, what's the big deal? We all get it done. Like, where is that happen? What's that look like?
I feel like I've got the buy-in but lacking action. However, I'm also, which I enjoy, being challenged on it because I'd like to do it a different way, and it's coming to an agreement as to how is it going to be the studio's way of doing things, not individual way of doing things. So
Oh, so we're running into that. This is
yes,
the way I do things.
yes,
Oh, see, now you just hit a nerve with me.
okay,
Right? Because there's no, you want to do it your way, Sally Smith, and go start Sally Smith Interiors because I'm paying your paycheck.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now, have it, that's inside voice, right?
okay,
That's my inside voice, right? I get that outside voice. We have to translate that to get buy in. All right.
yes,
But okay. So my question then is, see, I think it's very beneficial that you are in command of the business backside of the operational side of the finance and the business.
mhm,
Because when you have that command, when you have that knowledge, now things can be filtered through. Hey, did you want this company to survive? Did you want to keep this job? Again, inside voice. You never
yeah,
talk to employees or team members this way. I got that. Unless you're really crazy pissed, then maybe you do. All right. But the idea is that if you have that command and that knowledge, then they probably know that, right? Like, it's, whether you walk around and say, hey, I'm in charge of the numbers, I really know what they mean. There's a way that you probably interact, that they know of you, and the way you speak and the way you lead. And that should give you an inch of credibility, right?
mhm,
Even more than an inch, right? That should give you some credibility. And then I think, it occurs to me, Rebecca, you know, is it as simple? Sometimes the solution is just so dang simple that we're just like, wait, can't you make it even easier than that? Right.
yeah,
But is it really just like, hey, as a team, we are stopping the bus every single Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And we are, as a team, documenting our processes. And so you are a junior designer, and when a project comes through and you are tagged, these are the things you're going to do. Go create it in ClickUp, go create it a Loom video, all the way from, like, if you take a project and you say, like, what are all the steps in that project? And okay, Bill, you're senior director, you have these 3 steps, but then Sally comes in as senior designer and she has those 7 steps. And then Susie comes in as junior. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder, is it just establishing the non-negotiable of, we've got 6 months to get
Mhm.
every ounce of, goodness out of this man's brain, and come heck or high water, we're going to do it.
Yeah, I think it probably is. And it's just ring fencing that time in the diary and making everybody see that as a priority. It is easier said than done sometimes, because client briefings crop up and you're at
Yep.
someone else's beck and call. But it really, now that timeline feels a lot shorter, and it really needs to happen. And I think we're also struggling with the fact that ClickUp's a new system for all of us as well. We don't necessarily have a super user, and we've done a lot of research into what's the best system for us, and we weren't tracking billable hours before, and we can do through the system, which is, we were like, okay, great, that's a good option for us. And now we're tracking time, which we weren't previously, which is helping with our pricing strategy. But it makes it all even more important that we know what steps we're doing each time, and having that documented for consistency to help improve the
Yeah.
pricing strategy as well.
So the thing about it is that, first of all, I just want to comment on ClickUp.
Mm-hmm.
I am, it's hard to believe that as a podcaster who every day tech is my livelihood. I'm, I would say I'm 70% proficient tech wise.
Yep.
Okay. Um, when I think about my husband, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm more than 50%, because, I'm like way better than him. But then when I was my team, we were just trying to remake a new password in Facebook for my Facebook group. I spent 10 minutes and I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
Here's my social security number. Go freaking figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, basically, I'm like, here's the keys to the kingdom. I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 75% proficient. And my point in bringing this up is that I was able to easily, within within the realm of easy, but
Mm-hmm.
within days and definitely weeks, 1,
Yep.
2, 3 weeks, figure out Monday.com
Mm-hmm.
and Trello.
Mm-hmm.
It has been 15 months since we've been on ClickUp. I still can't do it.
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah, I cannot. And I really feel like, and so I can go in and switch a status.
Mm-hmm.
I can go into my podcast production board and switch interview done, switch edited, Lou edited, ready to record, switch recording done. I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime I want to make a task, I screw it up. Anytime I want to find something, I'm like, I don't understand. Why is it in the board? And then here comes the message. It's right there in the board. Well, I didn't see it. So I just want to caution you
Mm-hmm.
that it's my experience that ClickUp works for technical brains, for
Okay.
left brains. And so, and if I hadn't had this direct experience, I'd be like, just, you got to do it. Like,
Yeah.
whoever is resisting it. But you might give a thought to that. If 3/4 of the people that are going to function in it are strictly creatives and not, left brain,
Mm-hmm.
you may get some resistance.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying to you, I think it's with some merit. Like, I wouldn't be like, because I have tried.
Yes.
It's, and because the rest of my team loves the function. None of them like ClickUp either, by the way, but the way it communicates between them, we're like 10 or 12 of us communicating, remotely.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it functions is better for not letting things fall through the crack. But it's not intuitive is the point.
Okay.
And so that's a long, long thing, but it's just a cautionary tale, because you're already up against a deadline of 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You're already up, the real hard truth that people are busy and it's not their business, and they're not as motivated to document a system as you are, right? They don't really care if they move on to another job. They're like, whatever. But you're like, no, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to train from the beginning again. I want somebody to sit down in your seat and pick up the project and not miss a step, right? So I just say you might have to do a different system if you really, and I would almost say, um, use it yourself. You probably are a left brain person. You will probably make it make sense, but use it yourself and figure out how to help your right brain people use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been
All
in it
right.
all afternoon today trying to fix an issue, and you're probably right. It's a barrier into this whole process because whilst
It's
it can do
obnoxious.
as an output what I need it to do, it's other people that are going to be in it every day.
Yeah,
So,
it's obnoxious. I really hate it. Like I should have stock in Voxer and ClickUp. If they ever heard me, they'd probably want to take me off the air because
oh
I
no.
complain about it every chance I get. So one day somebody's gonna knock on my door. We're from ClickUp. Shut up. Would you please stop putting us down? But anyway, okay. So you'll figure that out. You'll
hmm
manage that one way or another.
Yep.
Okay. And the other thing too is I will just caution you on and give you some grace on, you know, it may be that ClickUp works for you with the high level project management of it,
hmm
but maybe at the creative designer level, your designers might function like in My Doma Studio
Yeah.
or Monday.com or something. And like all of the creative, I get people all the time saying to me, I'm just, either they say, I'm trying to find one software that does everything,
Yeah.
or they say, I can bang in my head against a wall. I've had 15 meetings with my Doma and, they just can't make the program do this thing. And I'm like, right, but QuickBooks does it, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so what are you doing? It's like to me, it's like I have a bicycle and sometimes I ride the bike and sometimes I get on my car. And
hmm
I'm just like, I wish when I was in my car, my hair was blowing in the wind, right? And it's like, I wish when I was on my bike, it would go 80 miles an hour. It's like, they're not going to do the same thing. They have different purposes. So keep that in mind too, Rebecca, as you
hmm
organize your team and your workflows, that just like you have QuickBooks and maybe you're using Chief Architect and it's multiple things, as long as everybody who's functioning in them is my big thing is you got to do it.
Yeah.
If the process is happening in ClickUp,
hmm
don't not click the status.
Yep.
Don't not put the like, don't like, just like, that's my thing. I'm like, how come this show has been done for 2 weeks and a writer hasn't been assigned? They're like, oh no, I just didn't hit the ClickUp. I'm like, no, sir.
Yep.
No, ma'am. The show is assigned, hit the status, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on from that drama, um, when you think about getting, I have to tell you, I think it might just be that it becomes a non-negotiable, that we are going to get together, we are going to document it. You will know to what extent do you have to do prep work yourself before you involve team members. You will know if it's like I'm envisioning, that different roles can sit there kind of independently and side by side and creating their process. And also keep in mind, some people are going to be more capable of creating a process, whether it's ClickUp or on paper, than others. I'm
hmm
not good at creating a process. I'm good at telling you the steps,
Yep.
but I'm not good at going and doing all the things. And so, but I do think I remember when I interviewed, I want to say it was Chad James, and this would have been in 2016. I think it was Chad. And I had interviewed several designers at that point that were sharing that they had Monday morning team meetings, like the entire company.
hmm
And some of the results that they were getting from having these team meetings were literally speaking to me, because at that point I was full time in WindowWorks, about the pain points that we were consistently facing at WindowWorks. And I remember I came to Vinny and I said, you know what? When it was me, you, and Billy, it was one thing. We had stand up meetings before the day started, in the middle of the day, after the day. But now we're 7, 8, 10 people. And the best run firms have team meetings. And he was like, what do you mean? And so I was talking to him about it. And he's like, well, when do you suggest these happen? And I said, well, 9 o'clock Monday morning seems to be the thing. And when we reviewed what kind of agenda would happen in a team meeting, he's like, this is going to be a multi-hour meeting. And I said, yes, it is. He's like, and we were both like, there's no way. There's no way we can. We're all too busy. We're
hmm
all too busy. And so, and I was like, I know, I agree. It's crazy. But then we kept hitting our head against the wall as the team grew. And what I'm saying up here isn't making it to 3 people, down the rung. And constantly projects were not, really done at the standard that we wanted them done. And we finally, it was painful enough that we said, okay, fine, we're going to do team meetings. And it's 8 years. We
Mhm.
haven't looked back. 9 years. We have a team meeting every Monday. We love it when it's done by 11:30. Sometimes it's done by 11. Sometimes it goes till 12. But it's it's never going to feel like there's time for it.
Yeah.
That's what I can tell you.
Yeah.
And the other thing that'll happen is you will get like we'll get into a run and I'll get to the meeting. I'll be like, where are all the installers? Oh, they all had to be in New York City at 10, so they couldn't come to the meeting. And I just go, okay. And then like the next week, I'm like, where are the installers? Oh, I know this week they're at the Hamptons. And I just look at, now my son-in-law, I'm like, this can't happen. Like, schedule those jobs on Tuesday, not
Mhm.
Monday, because these team meetings aren't for no reason. And a lot of good comes out of them. So I would say that I wonder if it's just not, hey guys, this is a serious thing. This man has spent 20 years to build a business. We've spent probably millions of pounds to purchase it, or hundreds of thousands of them anyway, to purchase it. And it's, to me, it's like I bought a gym membership, but I don't go to the gym.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to be surprised in 6 months that I didn't build any muscle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's a good analogy. My team will be laughing listening because my Monday morning meetings are the bane of my life. Like, so we haven't nailed the Monday morning meeting yet. And I even said to one of the senior designers yesterday, I was like, do you know what? We just need to block out Mondays. Mondays, make it
That's
meeting
right.
days. It's our internal
That's right.
day. We'll make it. We're all in, and we've started to ring fence that time because it didn't used to happen before. And let's just try and group what we can there, and then go off your briefings and your pre-starts and everything Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and let's try and regroup on a Friday. And that is starting to happen, but
That's
we
it.
definitely haven't nailed that agenda on the Monday morning meetings because
Yes.
it's like you say, it just goes on and on and on because there's so many things that we're trying to do all at once, and it has to happen all at once because we need to make sure we maximize on this time. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's like kind of simplifying and really focusing and trying to where are going to be the quick wins and what is the
Yeah.
non-negotiables about the next
Right.
6 months.
Yeah. Well, I think for you, you probably have to divide your Mondays into categories,
Yeah.
right? So maybe the first meeting, depending on the cadence, maybe you might be like, we start with a whole company wide meeting, your division, for the first 45 minutes or whatever. And then maybe it's you with the senior project managers
Mm-hmm.
for another 45 minutes, or it's the senior project manager with the juniors for another 45. Or maybe it makes more sense for everybody to have their individual meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and then the team meeting is the report of where everything is. I
Yeah,
don't
that's a good
know.
way of thinking.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
don't, like, we do have installers, designers, admins all in the same first hour to hour and a half team meeting. And
Mm-hmm.
then the second meeting is sales only.
Okay.
And then I would say about once a month, we will bring our admins into a sales meeting,
Okay.
right? But our team meeting it starts with our problem list.
Mm-hmm.
We just have a Google Doc, nothing fancy, and it just says the client's name. It says the date that it started as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It says the client's name. The next thing, it says paid or not paid, because
Yeah.
that's what I want to know when I look at it. Am I dealing with somebody who's giving me a problem that still owes me money, right? And then it's a description of the problem. And then underneath of it, it's like, so the date is 3/10/25, and it's a description of the problem and the action somebody has to take. And it says Carlos to this, Catherine to that, LuAnn to that. And then 3/17 Monday later, it says Carlos did the thing, new problem, now new problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Carlos did the thing, waiting to be installed. Or, hey, nobody did the thing they were supposed to do last week. Okay, let's try again. Right? It's like, it happens,
Yeah,
right? You just all get busy.
absolutely.
And then, yeah. And then what happens is that problem just sits there and it gets a new update every single Monday until it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And so we run through the problem list. And then what we do is we run through every project that we installed the week before, because we're, again, as a window treatment company, it's not like you guys, right? So we're selling it in 6-8 weeks, we're installing it. So we run through everything that was installed because we're looking for completed, yay, everybody's happy, ask for a review,
Mm-hmm.
or, oh, there's a problem that has to come over here to the problem list, right? And then the final walkthrough is we go through everything that is scheduled for the week coming. And so it's a chance for a salesperson to say, oh my God, I forgot to tell you need an extension ladder, or blah, blah, blah. And the reason that we have everybody in the meeting is because if there's a problem on an order and it was created by a salesperson, we've got the installer there to explain to the salesperson what they didn't know they didn't know.
Yeah.
How did they create that problem, right?
Okay.
And so you just have to figure out for you, you know, it helps with attention and it helps with the team itself. If it doesn't just feel like, well, we sit down at 9 o'clock and we have no idea what we're doing and when it ends. So for each division, each little section, you're going to figure out what are the things that you should be reviewing each week. What are the things from the week before? What are the things coming up? And for the different parts of your business, whether it's somebody manages the trade, somebody manages the fabric purchases, somebody manages the procurement. I don't know, right? But I think you want to maybe you all take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Mondays is documenting processes. And you're available for questions because you're in the office. Maybe you're working at your desk, but you're available.
Yeah.
Whoever is doing it. And then I would say each meeting on Monday is a review, or maybe the end of the meeting is a review of what systems are completed in documentation, what ones are you working on today. So there is out loud accountability of what you're doing. And what I think you're going to have to do is you're going to have to say, okay, senior designer, you're responsible for documenting everything that's in your head about what you know that's going on. But as you meet each week and you have the conversations, be very mindful of saying often to them, how are you doing on the documentation process? Are you okay? Is it hard to do? Does it feel like, I'm not asking, is it hard? I have to walk uphill and catch my breath. I'm sorry, keep walking,
Yeah.
right? But is it hard? You're actually not capable. Your brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And what can I do to support you? And what can I do to break it down? What can I do to help you see that if you look at it in smaller pieces, it can be done?
Mm-hmm.
Because you will find that people that don't like to do it will put it off, and they will, spend 3 weeks, it's like, the kid who's pushing their broccoli around the table, around the plate for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like my grandson. He does that all the time. He pushes the broccoli around. He's like, I ate two. I'm like, no, you didn't. You just pushed them to the other side of the plate. Like, I can still count, buddy. But at 5, he thinks because they were in a big plump and now they're spread out, it looks like he ate something.
Yeah. I've got a nearly 5-year-old. I know exactly how they work.
Exactly. And so adults, it's not a lot different.
No.
It's just, like the words that come out are different and it sounds a lot more sophisticated, but they're really just pushing the crap around the plate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And all I'm saying is, when I find employees that are generally employees that I respect and I know they're invested in the business, if they're pushing the thing around the plate, it's because they're struggling and they don't feel comfortable to say
there's a reason
struggling
for it.
Yeah. And so if you constantly take that reason off the table, what
Yeah.
can I do to support you? What can I do to help you? And of course, a lot of processes should be done by video rather than words, right? So Loom videos where the person is sitting there and you don't see the person's face, but you see their screen.
Yes.
And it's like, log in here, do this, go that. This is how we put, it into My Domo Studio. This is how we click it into My Domo Studio that it's done, or, or in ClickUp that it's done. But I got to tell you, there is just no magic pill.
No.
for documenting processes. There really isn't.
No, I think we've identified that it's a must. We must do it. It's just the strategy for getting it done. And I think moving everything to a Monday, which we'd start to do with the meetings, but also making that the process day, it makes sense. We're on hand, and
Mhm.
it'll be beneficial for me as well if someone wants to go through it and me to document it for them by them talking it to me. That would
Yes.
benefit me as well to understand, coming in not being a designer myself, to
Okay.
support the team in that regard. So
So then maybe you're like, "Hey, we're gonna build this process together. I'm gonna
yeah,
sit side by side with you, and I have a click up brain, so you'll
yeah,
tell me what to do, and I'll
we'll
put
do
it
it
here."
that way.
Yeah, right, exactly. The other thing too is to be very clear as the leader of your team, Rebecca, that it is your way,
hmm
right? Like I have encountered that many, 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 many times over the years with, the dozens of employees that have gone through the doors of Window Works.
hmm
And, we just onboarded somebody in the last several months and comes with experience in the industry. And not that it got heated by any stretch of the imagination, but we're both pretty passionate people, and it was just like, well, this is the way I've always done it. And and I'm nice the first couple of times.
hmm
I'm like, no, I totally respect that, but this is how we do it here. And we're back and forth and this and that. And the person kept trying to tell me why it was so good to do it the other way. And finally, I just went, look, I don't know how many different ways to say it to you. It could work magnificently, but it's not the way we do it. And after 42 years, I'm not changing it.
Yeah.
This is how it's done. Now, that doesn't mean I've never changed a process or a system based on an employee's input. Almost every process or system has the imprint of somebody that has come across our path in all these years in business, because I certainly am not the smartest one in the room. There's no question, right? But there are certain things that you will feel strongly about, Rebecca, that are done a certain way. And you have to, with as much compassion as possible, but you have to just say, this is our way.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to be done. And then the other thing is that I find that you put it in your back pocket and pull it out where you need it. But when I'm looking for a little bit of extra juice on trying to explain to any particular employee why it's important to document this, because you can be like, that authoritative parent and just say, I said so, right? But it's not usually that effective,
Not
right?
really.
um, right, exactly. So what I always say to them is, look, here's the thing. You're very, very good at what you do. And I appreciate that you come to work every day and that you are in your lane and that you got it done. You got it nailed with your eyes closed. But here's the thing. I can never promote you. You're not promotable, because not because you're not good, not because I don't think you're amazing, not because I don't see a future in this company for you, but because if I can't put someone in your seat because you're the only one that knows how to do what you do, then you sit in that seat for your entire career here.
Yeah, that's a
You
good
know,
perspective. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, I'm constantly saying to my team, okay, if you want to do this the rest of your life, great. You know what I mean? And by the way, I'm not actually going to accept that. You still have to document it. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
But it does help people understand what's in it for them, right? What's in it for them.
Yeah, and help them go on the journey with us. Like, I'm very conscious that there's a lot of change that's gone on. Newly acquired business, founder's been there for 20 years. He's going to be departing. New people coming in. Never tracked hours, never had processes documented, bringing in new systems. It's a lot of change, and I want to be
It
very
is.
clear that it's coming in for a reason, and I'm not doing it to be disruptive and complicate things. But we are a rapidly growing business. We were on the Sunday Times top 100 fastest growing businesses in Britain last year, number
Whoa.
20. So we are
Whoa.
growing and scaling quickly, and that's not gonna happen without processes in place to help support the scale of that business.
Well, you're 100% right, Rebecca. That is just an honest assessment of the actual, you know, catbird seat and jeopardy that you're in.
Yeah.
That's two sides of that same coin. It's like, this is fantastic. We've created something that's worthwhile here, that is recognized as a really cool, wonderful business. But at the same time, we're about to, shoot our own foot off. Like, let's be real.
Absolutely. And we can't continue to give the same level of service and that personal touch that our clients know us for and love us for if we aren't bringing people on board and knowing what is expected of new people that work for the business. So
Mhm.
that's why, for me, the SOPs is so important. I think we just need
Yes.
to get that right. And
I agree. I
um,
agree. The other thing too is that, part of your intake form was talking about, making sure that the previous clients of the business, feel smooth in the
yeah,
transition and so forth. And, that's going to be in those systems also,
definitely.
because even though the way you tweak it a little bit might be a little different the way the previous founder did it,
Hmm.
the fact of the matter is as long as the experience is delivered 90% seamlessly,
Hmm.
the returning clients to the business, you know, like, put it this way. What's the thing that would kill a returning client coming back to the business? They had a good enough experience the first time with the original founder, so they called you. Now they do a project with you. What is going to determine if they come and do a second project with you? How good that experience is.
Hmm.
Like, you get the goodwill for the one callback.
Yep.
But if you don't run it smoothly, they're not going to know that you did it the same or different than the original founder. They're only going to know what their experience was like.
Hmm.
And if their experience wasn't good, they won't come back. And so by shoring up your SOPs, it gives you a better shot at delivering a good experience. And the thing is, the original founder might have not delivered it in a precise SOP, but maybe that founder had enough charisma or had enough connection, personal connection with those people that, at the end of the day, he or she was able to smooth it over. And, it's me, where are you? Like, now it's different. Like, now you have new people,
Hmm.
and, you've got people, clients that are thinking about the way it was. And if it's different, but is good or better, they won't care.
Yeah.
But if it's different and not as good,
Hmm.
now they won't stay.
Absolutely.
So,
And I feel like
yeah.
with them having so much trust in him as a person and
Yes.
him being that he was the designer on most of the projects, they didn't really have access to the wider team. You get one shot. And then it'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not going to be the same without him anymore. And so I just want to make sure
Yes.
that the things that need to happen so we can focus on customer satisfaction and focus on going that extra mile because we've got everything else efficient and nailed, and we know how they like to receive their fee quotes, what invoice system we need to use for that particular contract that's different from someone else. And
Well, and that's a good point. And I was just, it's funny because that leads me to where I was thinking is, have you and him, whether it's your role or somebody else on your team, has he been walking you through the key big whale clients that he's giving the baton? And whether the structure is simply that they have a project going on now and he's on it, but your team is all on it, and they're
mhm,
constantly seeing that he's not the only one that knows what's going on.
yeah.
Or maybe it's a more formal structure because they're bigger clients, bigger projects, and it needs to be a lunch where the previous founder, invites this big client to lunch, and it's you and maybe a couple of your senior designers. And he's
Hmm.
just like, you know what? I believe I didn't sell my company to somebody that I didn't think was going to live out my legacy. Like, I've
Yeah.
chose them. He needs to tap you on the head and
Yeah.
say, they're my people. So whether
Absolutely.
that's happening in real life, person to person with major accounts, but then in email and in contacts like that in digitally, right?
Hmm.
So do you guys have that in place happening?
We do. I think it's just a creature of habit. The phone call or the email will go to him, and he'll just deal with it because he's just used to it. And it's like, no, no,
Yeah.
you need to bring us
Yep.
on the journey now, and we need to be leading that communication. And you can be there to answer the questions and be that safety blanket for the clients for this time. But all the while you're still doing it, we can't practice doing it, and we can't prove and gain that trust with the customers. And he's not doing it to be disruptive. It's just he's done it for 20 years.
No, yes, believe me, Vinny and I turned our business over to the new owners at
Hmm.
WindowWorks, my son-in-law, daughter, and Billy, and Kim and Carlos. And, you know, it took both of us a good several months
Hmm.
before we stopped answering every question.
Yep.
It really, because you're just so accustomed to doing it. It's your
Hmm.
highway. You've done it forever. And it's like, and you know the answer, and it's quicker to just answer the thing and keep it moving.
Yep.
But we had to train ourselves that not only when a client would call, and they would ask to speak to me or Vin, okay, we get on the phone, how you doing, this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, this is great. You want us to do the next project? I'm going to make the appointment for Kim. Oh,
Yep.
no, I want you to come out. No, you see, you've met Kim before. She's been
Hmm.
with me to your house before, or hey, Kim's been with me X amount of years, blah, blah, blah. I'm here if you want to call and complain. It's
Yep.
fine, right? But they're not going to, because you're going to do it right. The other thing that we had to train ourselves, Vin and I, was internally, and you might ask this of the previous founder also, if we come to you, when we come to you with questions,
Hmm.
that the first answer is, tell me, what do you think you should do?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm getting lots of questions come to me asking me that. And I'm trying to play that back to my team. Like, what would you do?
Yes.
Myself
So you already
and the
know that.
founder are here to help advise you, but what would you do?
Yeah.
And let's talk about that as a solution rather than just, it's not problems, but like just how can we
Yeah.
navigate through that?
Yeah, and the thing is, I noticed in the first 6, 7 months, it was like I rarely liked the answer. I was like, "Well, that's not what you should do." Like,
Yeah, and that's
no, it's
hard.
this.
Yeah.
That's wrong. But then you talk it through, and then, the last year or so, it's like JC will say, "What do you think about this?" I'll say, "What do you think?" And then he
Hmm.
answers, I'm like, "You know what? I'm with you, buddy. I think it's a great idea." Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or a yes and, or a little bit
Hmm.
qualifier. Um,
I think what's concerning me probably as well is I don't know what I don't know. So all the while
yeah.
he's in his emails and other members of the team as well, just doing what they do without sharing or documenting it, then we don't know what we don't know. So I feel like
Mm,
we've got the design nailed. Like the designers are going to meet the clients and they're delivering and they're delighting customers that way. But it's more the kind of back end function. Like if an inquiry comes in, how do they expect it to be handled? Like if we're not the ones dealing with
mm,
that, then we just don't know what we don't know. When we don't know their systems, whether that be an invoicing system or how they like you to upload the designs to a particular project management system they might be dealing with. So it's just all of those processes. They're different per framework agreement that we have, and then you've got the private clients as well that actually it could be how we want things to be done,
mhm.
and agreeing how that is. So yeah, it's just not knowing you don't know what you don't know, and making sure I maximize this time to really tease that out, because it's second nature to him and the team that have been there for a while.
Yes. I wonder, 2 things went through my mind. The one thing that went through my mind is, I wonder if it isn't time that you have access to his email.
Yep.
It's gonna have to get turned over in 6 months anyway. It can't go unanswered,
Hmm.
right? Um, I guess it technically could all be forwarded, and that's what will
Yeah.
happen. But I just, look, I don't think I mean, look, he can say no,
Yeah.
right? Or he can say yes and understand. Like, if he also does personal crap in the email, stop doing it, right? Like, he was the owner. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, like, I think about Vinny. He uses his email for everything,
Yeah. Of
right?
course.
I have a personal and a business. I don't putz in the same lane there, but Vinny does.
Yeah.
He's old school. But you might just say, I'd like to adjust the login settings, and I'm not going to come in the middle of your conversations, but I need to start to get a handle
Hmm.
on what's happening.
Yeah.
We can't just, July 1st, turn it over. The other thing is, I wonder if you've mentioned a couple of times that different entities might have different agreements
Hmm.
with your company.
Yes.
So, do you need just to sit down with him every single week for an hour and check off, okay,
Yeah.
let's go through all the big whales.
Yeah.
What do they need? And let's make a file on them. And then you'll put it in ClickUp and you'll build it in ClickUp. And when this one calls, this is how they like their process. This is how they like their invoicing. This is how they like their communication.
Hmm.
Um, and just do that.
Yeah, that's where we'd got to the senior hospitality designer that's going to be taking over his accounts as scheduled weekly meetings to do that and just really
Good.
start to tease that information out. But it's not something we've done until now, but it's definitely at the point where we need to.
Is the previous founder like, yeah, we got to get all this out of my head, or is he kind of like, it's not that big of a deal, it's all fine? Like, where is his frame of mind?
The latter.
Okay, it's tough. It's tough. I know.
Yeah.
Vinny, you would have had a hard time getting Vinny to sit down too, honestly. But with money, he would. With
Yeah,
money, he would have. So I think, and even with him, you got to appeal to. This is his legacy brand. This is his
absolutely.
legacy business. And you want to do the best by it. And you need his support over these next several months
Hmm.
in order to do your very best to make, like, I mean, for me, that's what for Vinny and I at WindowWorks. And it's funny because we'll go around Vinny and I on this. There'll be times I'll be like, well, I mean, that's not the way I would do it. And they're not listening, or blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, no. You didn't say what you thought they should do. You just are leaving the meeting and coming to me and saying you don't agree. And he's like, well, it's their business now. And I'm like, right. But if you really feel like something should be looked at a different way, or from your experience something is not going to be served by doing a certain way, and him and I will go around on that
Hmm.
heavy, because he wants to say, nope, it's their thing, let them make their own mistakes. And I'm like, dude, it's a $4.5 million business. Like, it's not like taking over an ice cream stand here. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, why do they have to make their own mistakes? I get they're going to make a lot of little mistakes, but the big ones,
Yeah.
like, that's our job to save them of that. And so, if you can tap into my perspective on it as opposed to my husband's perspective on it,
Yeah.
he wants to see them succeed. Don't get me wrong. But I think that he leans a little bit more towards, I listen, if thank God he doesn't listen to my podcast. That's all I can tell you. But I think if I were to truly give him the benefit of the doubt, and of course, the benefit of what he deserves in his business expertise, is that he looks more to the truth of letting new owners create their own path.
Hmm.
And I believe and I know that's where his heart and his thoughts are on it. And I'm just a little bit more, it's kind of like letting your kid ride down the street on a bike without a helmet and no training wheels. And do you hold on to them for 10 feet or 25 feet? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I just want to hold on a little bit more down the block. That's all. Right. And so I know he's coming from a good spot, but you got to tap into that
Yeah.
owner's legacy.
Absolutely. And we, at the end of the day, we all want it to be a success and for his legacy to continue, and maybe formalizing his how we would like him to be involved and how he would like to be involved, and just getting the expectations clear. That could probably do with a little bit of work.
Hmm.
He might be coming from a perspective, well, it's your business now, you crack on. Whereas actually I'm a bit more like, no, come on the journey with us.
You sound like JC. JC kept like, no. Like Vinny was like, you have a 2-year contract. He goes, 2 plus however many more I need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And we're all of the opinion that we want it to be a long-standing relationship as well. Like, he never wants
that's
to
awesome.
completely let go. So
That's
we, and
awesome.
all the
That's
while he wants
awesome.
to be involved, we'd love him to be as well.
That's good. Um, Another thing I would say to you, it sounds like, and you may already be very well versed in this, we didn't go into it a lot, but in case it's an area that could use some shoring up for you, Rebecca, is, like, I think of like all of the amazing books by John Maxwell on leadership.
Hmm.
This is the key of all of this right
Yeah.
now. Like, the getting it done and the nuts and the bolts is one thing, but leading this team to the vision is really the core of your job. That
Absolutely.
is the core of it. And I have several of his books on Audible, and I've read them and reread them and listened to them and re-listened to them. And what I love about the John Maxwell books is you could just stick it on any chapter, any place, and you're just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Or, gosh, that really would help me with the situation I'm in right now. I hadn't thought about, that point of view with trying to get, buy-in from the different people on the team to get something done.
Hmm.
So I just throw that out as a thought too, if you're familiar with his books and his leadership, teachings on leadership, because I think they're not, I don't find them to be pie in the sky. I
Okay.
find them to be very actionable. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a thing I can do. I can do that thing. Right.
And that's what I
You know,
enjoy. And I love to digest the information in the audio form and everything while I'm kind of doing the school run and driving and everything, and like straight into work. And I've got some actions off the back of it. So I appreciate the recommendation. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah. Now, is there anything else? I mean, I don't feel like, I don't think I feel like I solved your problem. I feel like I just told you what you already knew.
Well, I find it really useful to just talk things through, though, to be honest, because yeah, you kind of tease it out anyway. But yeah, you certainly help with the problem in that regard. And I feel like some of the other topics are probably too big to go into, like, in the time we've got left. But they're all linked, really. And at the end of the day, yeah, the only other thing probably playing on my mind is kind of that customer trust and how we can continue that. And I feel like that giving a good service is probably the main way of doing it, and documenting our processes to make sure that we continue what they expect to be delivered.
Yeah, I would tell you they're definitely all intertwined to your exact point. The customer trust is going to be on being able to deliver consistent. So, because somebody's going to, he might be touchy feely and, whatever. And your new project manager that's on a thing with a previous client may have a completely different approach. But at the end of the day, I think most people will evaluate the end result and how the process felt throughout, even if they have to acknowledge I missed, XYZ founder, right? But I do also think, like when I think about it, with Kim at Window Works, I've said this 1,000 times on the podcast. I had her come in the car with me for 3 full years on every single job. It's way more than we needed. 6 months would have been enough,
Okay.
and I've had my reasons for continuing. A year would have probably been 6 months would have been the shortest. A year could have been the end. But the thing was, not only did she learn how to sell draperies, how to do the sales process, right? But in that time, I was absolutely passing the baton.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would be on a project together with one of our high value clients. And because she was there with me on it, and I always, in the course of the conversation, I would often look at her and say, well, I would say if the client would ask me, the designer or whoever it would be, ask me what I think that they should do, I would say, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd look at Kim and I go, right, you agree with that. And in the beginning, when she was brand new, I'd be like, you're really never going to disagree. I'm just going to tell you right now. I said, and you had better well be 100% sure that I'm 100% wrong if you're going to disagree in front of the client, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I was, teaching the person that my faith and trust was in Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Even before she had earned it,
Yeah.
right? And then it developed. There were times I'd be like, Kim, I don't know, you got an idea here? And then now over the time, her experience and expertise came out, and it became very clear that even though, I had 30 plus years experience on her, that I valued her, that her opinion mattered to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm asking her opinion, then it means something. And so you've got to figure that out with this founder, because that is that last shift. It's like, the same, like when Kim came to work for us, the business was probably at least 25 years old at that point.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I think it was 25, either 24 or 26, like, because I
Okay.
can't do the numbers in my head, right? And so, and I had many clients that were repeat clients at that
Yep.
point. And even if maybe the client that we were going to see wasn't a repeat, they were the sister of somebody. And they were like, wait, who's Kim? Like,
Yep.
why is she here? You're supposed to be LuAnn.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he needs to, with complete, like, just giving. These are the people I picked of everybody in the world to sell my business to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that big, he doesn't necessarily need to say it in these words. He needs to say it in the way that he says it, and that makes sense for him. But that's the big message. This isn't just like, yeah, this is a transaction, I'm waiting for my payout in 6 months.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, no. This is my baby, and I'm turning my baby over to these people, and I believe in them, and they are great. And I'm here for the little nitpicky things that maybe you love and they don't know yet. But the big stuff, they're good. He's got to pass that trust. It's got to convert from him to you in their eyes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. And we're on that journey. And like you say, it's that last little bit now. It's that change of roles and responsibilities and breaking the habits of a lifetime. And
Yeah.
it's tough. Like, I've only ever been on the purchasing side. I haven't sold a business myself, so I can't comment on that
Yeah.
perspective of it. But it must be very strange when you've always
It is. I just said, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, JC was doing something and he made a decision on something and we talked about it and I had my opinion, he had his opinion and went back a day or two later. And I was like, so what'd you decide to do? He's like, I'm doing the thing. And I just like looked at him. I said, this is the part about selling the business that pisses me off because I don't like that.
But you've got to be okay with your decision.
That's it. And he just looked at me. He goes, "What?" I'm like, "It's fine. It's your dang business now. Fine." So it fortunately doesn't happen a lot. It mostly doesn't happen, right? But I think like we've gotten the call. It doesn't happen so much. They've owned the business now 2 years, 2.5 years outright.
Okay.
But in the first year, we would get, oh, well, I mean, I'm not happy about this. I'm going to need to speak to LuAnn.
Oh, okay.
That's precious because, she's not here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you gotta fight that. You be like,
Yeah.
hey, that's awesome. And then I'm not going to say I've never had to get on the phone, right? But I've gotten on the phone and said, look, this is the deal. This is how it's going. I don't own the business anymore, yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, there's the other side of it that I've talked about just so that nobody's confused. When a problem gets so bad that nobody can handle it, then it does come to me. And then I act like, I don't even act like anything because usually it's a new client. It's
Okay.
nobody that knows me. I just like act like the fixer in the business. This came to my desk. We got to resolve this, So I don't play the owner card there because it's not relevant anymore. I'm the fixer, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. So anyway, I feel a little funny. I feel like, it's like, okay, go do 10 sit-ups and run a mile a day.
We got some work to do.
You got here. You knew it before you walked in.
But it's good to be accountable.
I mean, I think really the big thing too, Rebecca, is it's clear that you're smart. You've got a managerial mind. You've got experience doing it. Get in the weeds of demanding the weekly. Do not accept, oh, I have to see this client on Monday. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you were in Aruba on vacation, you wouldn't see the client on Monday.
Yeah.
If, you had to go to a funeral, you wouldn't go to the client on Monday. So you know what? This is it. Our head is down every Monday for the next 6 months. And this is our structure. This is the accountability for it. We're all working in harmony, together happily.
Yeah.
But, there is a hammer here and I'm it, So
yeah, I think got to set some boundaries and be consistent and get it done.
And it's for the good of everybody.
Absolutely.
It's for the good of everybody.
We all want the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, and every once in a while, bring lunch in for them, or have ice creams delivered at 2:00 or lattes or something, and make it like a little fun.
Keep everyone motivated.
That's it. And then, if anything, I think once you really get into the habit of it in the weeds, you will start to work your way through. Oh, this is the obstacle. This is what, and you might need to tweak it and stuff and figure out another way around it. But I think really what you have to do is just get into it and see what works and what doesn't work about the Monday meeting and the Monday accountability for the SOPs. It might be that doesn't work, but I think it'll lead you to another solution on how to do it.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All righty. Don't hesitate to reach out to me in, a month or 2 months or 3. And you're just like, yeah, all that stuff we said, none of it's working. I need a new idea. But the thing is, you will have had the practice of what you tried.
Yeah.
And now you can say, this didn't work. This is what I did and it didn't work. And then maybe we can brainstorm that for you. Okay.
I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And maybe I'll see you in June in London and you can tell me how it's working out right then and there.
Definitely. Yeah. I very much look forward to that. Have a look at those events.
Okay. All righty, my friend. It was so nice meeting you, Rebecca. Thank you for coming here and sharing your dilemma with us.
Thank you so much for your time. And thank you it's invaluable. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we covered a lot of ground today with Rebecca, and it's obvious that she has a head for business, right? You picked that up as well, right? She understands what to do and why to do it, but she's in a situation where she feels like she's so in the weeds with the new acquisition and the transition of a growing company, and knowing how to slow down and prioritize what needs to be prioritized is the hard part, right? Like that's where the rubber hits the road. So let's talk about Rebecca trying to create these SOPs. First, let me reiterate. SOPs are not just nice to have. Early on in your business, if it's just you, maybe you don't need them, but if you have when you have them, even if it is just you are more likely to deliver a consistent product experience to your clients every time. But if you have even one other person in your business, let alone an entire team, they are non negotiable. It is tempting just to let things pass by. When everything's running, it can feel like SOPs are something that get put off, right? Everything's getting done, right? But the work gets done. But then you know that's sitting there. And when something falls through the cracks, you feel it. It's like a stomach punch, right? You're walking back through everything, tracing back the problem, dealing with it every single time. And it eats your time, your productivity, and your profitability. And all of those things add up. And that's why a well-designed business has to have systems and processes in place. And those systems and processes have to be completely documented. They cannot live in your head, and they cannot live in this previous owner's head, right? I said it a couple of times. Rebecca knows it. You can tell. She gets it. She knows that she needs these SOPs documented, especially now as the old owner is really almost out the door. It's a wall that she's facing, and she just has to buckle down and make it happen. I wish I could have given her a magic pill. I really, really do. There are a few things to talk about here. The first is managing the business involves managing people. And when it comes to making and sticking to SOPs, this does take some finessing, especially when you're coming into an already established business. So Rebecca needs to have the employees of the business creating these SOPs. Otherwise, she's going to make herself crazy trying to run around and get it done. But the nuance here is she also has to remember that not everyone thinks analytically or is going to step up and do the work the way she does, what she's accustomed at from herself, right? People are going to be resistant, and she's not going to want to create resentments. These are truths, right? So this is why she's going to need to be checking in, asking people how they're doing with everything, getting feedback, and being available for help and support whenever possible. All right. The next piece is that she has to remember is that if it doesn't go on the calendar with time blocked out, it's not going to happen. When do you wake up and go, there's nothing to do today? There just isn't, right? It's like there is no day that it feels like, oh, I mean, it's so funny because at my own house, I like we're between the two houses and all the travel. And I said to Nigara the other day, I need to clean my closets out. I need to clean. That's what this feels like. You got to clean the closets out. But it's not just a 5-minute thing, right? It's something that you have to make a plan for. You have to commit the time to do it. And you have to actually get in the weeds of it, right? And the difference is, unlike a closet, you need agreement from other people. Could you imagine if you were cleaning out your closet and you had to check with somebody else on everything you save or didn't save? Gah, right? So this is the thing. This is the challenge of this, right? Creating SOPs is like cleaning out that closet and getting it organized, but it's much more difficult to do because in a larger company like this, she needs agreement all the way around. So here's the deal. I don't think it's ever going to feel convenient to take time to do these things, whether we're talking about Rebecca now or you. I don't think if you don't have an established pattern for having team meetings that it feels easy to do, right? It doesn't. But I do know from personal experience that when you commit to both documenting how you do things and having the team meetings, that they end up saving you so much more time in the long run. So I think the big thing is get it on the calendar and just promise and make a commitment. Rebecca is doing a fantastic job. I mean, it's so clear to me that she has an awesome business head on her shoulders and that she sees what needs to happen. I have no doubt that if she structures the team meetings and get these SOPs in place, that things are going to run smoothly and that she's going to feel better about it. And she also knows, I can tell, she also knows that she can't forget this emotional leadership piece, right? When you're stepping into an existing team or business, it's delicate, right? So she's going to be thoughtful and respectful of that. And it sounds like she definitely understands the importance of making sure that everyone feels seen and heard in that transition. Okay. So, like I said, there is no magic pill. I think she reminds me of me in a way. It's sometimes when you know what you need to do and it feels really hard to do it, you kind of go to trusted mentors and peers and you just say it out loud because in case they have a great idea or a shortcut, like, wow, wouldn't that be awesome? And sometimes they do. And that's why it's always worth asking trusted friends, peers, colleagues, mentors, because often they do have a shortcut, okay? But sometimes they don't. Sometimes the answer is we just got to do the work. I have no doubt that Rebecca's going to do it. I really, really have no doubt. So, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me on this on-air strategy session. And I will be in London in June for the Business of Design Summit with Rachel Usher and Rick Campos and Jude Charles and many other wonderful interior designers from the UK. So I hope I get a chance to meet you in real life. And if you are in the UK and you're listening, go to the show notes and get the link for that Business of Design Summit. I would love to meet you in person. All right. And then finally, before we go, have you heard about Kravitz's popular upholstery trio, the Jazz, the Porter, and Taylor? Now, with improved pricing and faster production lines, these stylish frames are available with a 6-week turnaround. Yes, if you're in a crunch, 6 week, and even if you're not, they're gorgeous. Kravitz's exceptional service combined with great pricing makes them the perfect choice for your next project. Go to kravitz.com now to learn more and to sign up for your trade account. Thank you again, Rebecca, for trusting me and for doing this with me. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening and showing up. You know I appreciate you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.